Moment. Meanwhile, Republican primary voters are sorting through two basic kinds of candidates. The first kind support big government. They are not interested in reducing the size of the government, but rather they want to make the government run better, as if that were even possible. These candidates will tell you anything they think you want to hear. That's why they are called flip-floppers. They are former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney and former Speaker of the House of Representatives Newt Gingrich. Neither Governor Romney nor Speaker Gingrich excite the base. Listen to this supporter of the former speaker.
I think he has a little ways to go yet. I think people are a little confused about some things, but I think he's going to get it cleared up.
The other type of candidate wants America to take risks again. Herman Cain, before his personal life took over his campaign, was attractive because of his narrative of individual struggle and success and rebellion against government help. Even in the waning days of his campaign, voters were still enthusiastic about Mr. Cain.
The best man for the job, and that's what I'm voting for. As soon as I heard that, I sent the man some money, because just to show him that I still supported him.
I still supported him. Of course, now Cain supporters are left looking for a new candidate to support. But the choice for them should be obvious. Congressman Ron Paul enjoys highly loyal support. Congressman Ron Paul wants sharply limited government. When Congressman Paul sees Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner discussing bailouts to Europe, as he's doing as we speak tonight, he knows that we are so far off the rails economically that only radical change in the government will save us, and that change needs to happen now. Let's welcome back to the show the legendary investor, good friend of the show and good friend of your night watchman, Jim Rogers. All right, Jim, is there any one candidate who is for the Republican nomination who is not clueless, who does understand the economy?
Well, first of all, I'm very excited to be here. It's always good to see you again.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure.
Well, Ron Paul certainly understands what's going on, but Gary Johnson does too. I mean, Gary Johnson seems to have fallen into the sea or something, but both of them understand the problems.
What is it about Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich, whom I like to call big government Republicans, their version of big government, that they don't understand about basic economics 101 and the role of the federal government in our lives and in the economy?
Because anybody who understands, the press won't cover. You will cover them. Some people will cover them. But if you go to the other networks and they start talking what's really going on in the problems, the press ignores them. The press calls them nuts. The press are the nuts, not guys who understand the problem.
Who do you think the Republicans are likely to nominate?
I don't have a clue, Judge. You should watch Fox.
All
You
right.
can find out. You can watch your show.
All right. Ron Paul obviously puts a fire in the belly of those who support him. And those numbers have started at 10. They're up to about 18 or 19, at least in Iowa. And I know your field is numbers and not votes, but I want to ask you this. Do you see a fire in anybody's belly over Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich?
No, of course not. I mean, Newt Gingrich was in favor of TARP. He was in favor of bailing out everybody in sight. Romney, too. Those guys want more government. As you well said a few minutes ago, they want efficient government. Well, my goodness, they haven't shown us efficient government. They've been in government for a long time. They haven't done anything.
All right, now I want to get to one of your areas of expertise, and that is China. What is the beef that big government folks have with China? If I can buy a product from a manufacturer in China that serves the purpose for which I need it in the United States and costs me less, I'm not going to complain about that.
Don't we all want cheap cars, cheap TVs, cheap everything? Of course we do. What difference does it matter where it comes from? If it's good quality and it's better, we should all be in favor of that. We can sell the Chinese things and they can sell us things.
All right, so why should the government intervene? You're going to say the government shouldn't, but why is it that everybody from Mitt Romney to Newt Gingrich to Donald Trump want to punish the Chinese for producing products that are popular here in America?
Because what happens is the people who have to compete with the Chinese squawk, 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 squawk.
They make the Americans.
Yeah, the Americans. They make a lot of noise. All the other people who benefit, who are buying cheap goods, you don't hear them going into the streets and demonstrating and saying, we're buying cheap goods. That's wonderful. No, they don't. They're just having too much fun. They're working too hard. They're making money.
They want to use the power of the American government to make those cheap Chinese goods expensive because they, the people who make comparable goods here, cannot compete with their Chinese competition. Is that a fair statement?
Of course it is. You want to buy American TVs again? Would you like to buy a Sylvania TV?
God, are they still made?
No, they're not. That's the point. They weren't.
Right.
They weren't that good, and they were very expensive.
Right, let me make you. Let me advance for you Donald Trump's argument. And I'm not picking on Donald Trump, but he's the most prominent in making this argument. We can't compete fairly with them because they'll make a flat screen television and pay their laborers 75 cents an hour, and we'll pay our laborers $15 or $20 an hour.
Well, you know why? In this country, we spend much more money than we have. The government has run up huge debts. We have to pay higher taxes, higher interest rates. We have all these regulations. It's very difficult to compete because we're not an efficient economy anymore.
Can anybody change this? Stated differently, could a Ron Paul in the White House in 15 months change it, or would it also take half the Congress thinking the way you, Ron Paul, most people watching us now, and I do?
The problem is whoever's elected has to deal with Congress, and Congress has to deal with special interests, and all the special interests yap, 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 yap. They call their congressman, and their congressman says, I'll save you. I'll save you. That's the problem. Even if you have the best president in the land, you've got to deal with Congress.
Tim Geithner, the Secretary of the Treasury, is in Europe as we speak. He has in his bag $75 billion. He doesn't literally have it in his bag, but he has access to it because of one of these crazy stimulus programs enacted in 2009. Do you trust him to spend that $75 billion?
Of course not. Is he going to spend it? Of course he's going to spend it. Is he going to spend it for the best interest of America? No. Tim Geithner is one of the guys who caused this problem. He was head of the New York Fed when all this was coming up. He's supposed to be looking after us. He didn't look after us. He looked after Wall Street. That's one of the reasons we have these problems.
Would you make me this promise? Whenever you're in New York, back from Singapore, you'll let us know so you can be on the show.
Of course I would. I love your show.
Pleasure, Jim Rogers. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's a blitz for